Having a kid didn't put any doubt in my mind that I should stop skydiving because I know that this sport's worth doing. The risk is worth it.
How many years have you been jumping?
I just hit the 3-year mark back in May. So roughly 3.5 years now I've been doing this wild sport.
How many jumps have you got?
As of right now, I have 489 jumps.
What inspired you to be a skydiver?
It was just like my brother's birthday and he's always wanted to go skydiving. And so I finally pitched in and bought him the plane ticket and all that stuff. And then me and my now wife went with him. And I just suddenly realized that this was the coolest thing ever. But what I think I liked more was on the ground, just kind of like watching everyone hang out, that camaraderie of it all. That was probably what made me want to actually get into skydiving more than the skydive itself, which, was also pretty cool.
Did you ever imagine skydiving would become such an important part of your life?
Never. This was never part of the plan to get into skydiving. And I never knew that skydiving had this much to offer and this much went into becoming a skydiver. It's, probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Before your first jump, did you speak with your parents or your wife about it?
I just kind of gave them the heads up that I was going to go skydive. And my wife came, but, it's funny, she actually chickened out in the plane. And ironically enough, it was with Colin, who's out there right now. And now we're best buds and we skydive all the time. So it's a small world. They knew it was my life and I was going to do it no matter what. And so there was nothing that was really stopping me from doing it. They wouldn't do it themselves, but they were okay with letting me do it.
What's the biggest challenge you faced when you just started skydiving?
I think the big challenge, and I had to tell myself this multiple times, was, you're kind of reintroducing yourself kind of back to the schoolyard. And there's a lot of people there trying to do the same thing you are. And so some people are going to look at you differently and, not meet with you eye to eye. And so I had to tell myself early in that I wasn't going to let the people I'm suddenly surrounded by stop me from pursuing this, no matter how frustrating they may become. But I was going to see this through. I promised myself that. And there's lots of times where I wanted to quit just because of the community and some of the people that I was stuck having to be around, but you just got to see it through. And, once you get to the other side of that, then suddenly everyone's your friend. There's all kinds of different skydiving you can do and all kinds of different things you can do with the sport up in the air or on the ground even. So I'm glad I saw it through.
Have you ever had a frightening moment in the sky?
The first scary thing that ever happened to me was funny because nothing actually happened. I was skydiving and I was wearing this jacket that just kind of reacted different to the free fall. What it did was it lifted the backpack off of my back. And for whatever reason, I thought that it got detached from my harness and I was free falling to my death. And for whatever reason, I just went straight to my reserve, even though nothing happened. But for a good 10, 15 seconds, I thought I was falling to my death, which was very eye-opening. That was a free way to kind of have that near-death experience that kind of, reminds you what it's all about.
How many times have you had to use your reserves?
Never. After almost 500 skydives, knock on wood, I've never had to cut away. If it happens, it happens. It happens all the time. I try to pack very diligently, let's put it that way.
Do you still feel nervous or scared before each jump?
Yeah, I always say a quick prayer before I jump, but after doing this almost 500 times, I'm definitely not nearly as nervous. But there is, and there should always be, just a slight level of nerves that just kind of keep you focused on what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, skydiving is not super dangerous, but it can still kill you. And so nerves can be a good thing.
What's your overall perspective on fear?
Fear is a good thing, and there's a lot of great things on the other side of fear. Whether that's skydiving or getting into rock climbing or hiking, whatever it is that you're afraid to do, if it's worth doing, you should. Because on the other side of all that, fear is something that's worth seeing.
How has skydiving changed your life?
I think before skydiving, I was very focused on my career and very focused on some of those very common things here that we're all supposed to do, like, get married, have kids. I suddenly wasn't too worried about that. And it's funny now because I just got married and I just had a kid. Suddenly had more to worry about instead of just that. And it was great because all those things still happened, even though I also got to enjoy myself at the same time. And so It just changed my perspective on those things, but it didn't really change my trajectory.
Do you think facing fears in the sky has shaped the way you deal with challenges on the ground?
Yeah, because shortly after I got into skydiving, I also got into MMA, which was another thing that I wanted to do, but I was always afraid to do. And so I think skydiving was kind of that way of telling me, like, hey, there's a lot of things, a lot of good things that can happen if you just stop being so scared.
Do you believe our lives are in God's hands?
I think so. I think, we all have a destiny. We have more control over those destinies than we realize. If you have a little bit of faith, a lot of things can happen for you instead of just doubting that nothing's happening up there in your favor. And so nothing good can happen. If you think that everything's going to happen for you and it's already predetermined, then you kind of just assume these things will happen for you. So you don't really do much about them. There's a little bit that you got to do on your own hands with your own free will to make what you think is probably predetermined to happen, whether it's good or bad.
Have you ever considered quitting from skydiving?
No.
What makes you keep going?
I know that at the end of the day, if you're doing everything right, you're going to be safe. And I know that, things happen. There will always be someone who dies in the sport. But the percentage of that happening, the chance of that happening is good enough for me. The drive to the drop zone is statistically more dangerous than the jump itself. And so those odds work well enough for me, even with having a kid. All of a sudden, having a kid didn't put any doubt in my mind that I should stop skydiving, because I know that this sport's worth doing. The risk is worth it. Every now and then I kind of rethink a couple of things, like maybe I won't try this one day. Maybe I won't get into base jumping, or I won't do this or that. I'll focus on my kid and all that stuff. But skydiving is not one of those things. It's a really safe sport. It just looks scary and it looks dangerous, but that's kind of the cool thing about it. People think that you're doing something really, really dangerous and cool. The scariest part of like your first skydive is honestly on the ground and on the way up. But the minute you leave the plane, the minute that things are actually starting to happen, the part that's scary and dangerous is suddenly not all that scary. And so you just kind of have to get past that first part.
What would you say to someone who wants to try skydiving but feels scared?
I say good. It's okay to be scared. I was scared when I was getting my rate, when I was a student. So why shouldn't you be? Again, it's one of the greatest feelings. You should just go out there and do a tandem at least once and you'll know what we're talking about.